Hello, and welcome to PushX Hauler Academy. I'm Siasteris, the CEO of PushX. Webbing is the best and only active defensive option available to freighter pilots. In short, webbing allows a freighter to enter warp in 3 ticks using another alt, the webber, to apply stasis webifiers to the freighter to reduce its maximum velocity below its initial velocity. This results in the freighter effectively reaching warp velocity, or 75% of its maximum, immediately. Although this does not prevent your freighter from being targeted, as it's a 3-tick warp, not a 2-tick warp, it does make it almost impossible to bump your freighter and gets your freighter off-grid very quickly when an opportunity presents itself. In order to web a freighter, you will need the following: a second account with a webbing alt, a ship to web with. For PushX pilots, we recommend the Rapier due to its massive web range and COVID ops cloaking. But for new bros, we also suggest the Vigil Fleet issue as a cheap alternative. Your webbing ship of choice will need to have 3 stasis webifiers equipped, and a lock speed fast enough to insta-lock the freighter. In a Rapier, you will require some extra modules to accomplish this, but in the VFI, the base stats are adequate. You will also want to set up a webbing overview tab on your webbing alt. A webbing overview tab is a tab on your overview that only shows your freighter and no other ships. This allows you to very easily and quickly select your freighter to web. The process of webbing your freighter is extremely simple. To begin, have your webber ready and waiting in the system. Jump your freighter through the gate and do not break your gate cloak. If your webber and your freighter do not have friendly fire enabled, you will need to activate a duel at this time. Now you are ready to web. First, select your webs on your webber so they are flashing and ready to activate. Make sure your webbing overview is selected. Second, on your freighter, hit warp. Third, immediately swap to your webber and start spam clicking on the top of your webbing overview. Since you are spam clicking, as soon as your freighter is targetable, your webber will start locking. And since your webs are already pre-selected and flashing, they will immediately apply as soon as the lock timer is complete, and this should launch your freighter into warp. If you are using a short-range webber like the Vigil Fleet issue, instead of a long-range webber like the Rapier, you must add one additional step. Instead of starting with your webber on the gate grid, your webber must start on a bookmark several hundred kilometers from the gate. Once your freighter is in system and waiting in gate cloak, you can then warp to fleet member on your webber to get your webber within range of your freighter. Otherwise, the process remains exactly the same. There are some additional things to be aware of when using the webbing technique. If you attempt to web your freighter at the same time a ganker attempts to tackle your freighter with a point or scram, your success depends entirely on how quickly you click on your freighter. Put simply, whether the web command from you or the tackle command from the ganker reaches the Eve server first decides whether or not your ship is webbed into warp or tackled and prevented from warping. This is important for 2 reasons. First, it is often unwise to attempt to race a ganker by webbing, and instead webbing is best used to move a freighter quickly through a system when you have a window of opportunity. Second, webbing should always utilize a webbing overview and spam clicking to maximize your odds of being faster than your would-be ganker. Also, since your webber will have a combat timer after webbing and will not be able to jump into the next system, PushX recommends webbing to a station or citadel in the system instead of to the next gate, and having your freighter wait there until your webber is able to get into the next system. Although your exact strategy may vary by situation and experience, this is the most conservative approach against adaptive gankers. PushX also strongly recommends, in fact requires, that our haulers do not web their freighters every warp, but instead only web to get through a dangerous system. This is because webbing can prevent cargo scanning, which makes your freighter a more interesting target to potential gankers. As always, an up-to-date guide on webbing can be found on the PushX wiki, and you are more than welcome to ask any further questions on our Discord. Fly safe, and remember, don't move it, push it.